Okay, folks, we're recording. We got 20 seconds until we go.
Everybody mute their mics, please.
Well, let me try playing something here. Just give me a second here.
Nadir, he doesn't realize that we can hear him.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay,
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hi. This is
I can't hear.
We are live on another edition of the Real Interfaith Dialogue, or here in the Zoom room, we call it the Cross and the Crescent. We have with a guest today, Nadir Ahmed. He was having some issues hearing us, and we're gonna get to him here in just a second. He's giving me I don't know if he's giving that look. Problems with the Quran.
Eric, what I want to do, I just want to reboot my computer. Okay, I'll be right back.
Who said that? Nadir? Okay, all right, brother. We'll see you in a bit. We're going to discuss some more problems with the Quran today. Nadir has said that he wants to come on and we're going to discuss Deuteronomy 18:18, which is supposed to be a clear prophecy of Muhammad in the Bible, because we are told that in several different places in the Quran that we would find Muhammad in the Torah and the Injil. So we'll get to him after we get done with what Chris and I have to start off with. And Chris, I'm going to allow you to go first today, if you don't mind. There are a couple issues that you've been having with engagements with people evidently on Facebook, and you wanted to illuminate them. So you go on right ahead, sir. We'll wait for you. Are you there, Chris? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here, Eric.
Right.
And yeah, I've had some discussions with some people this morning. So today I do want to engage with Nadir. But first off, I want to explain how ignorant some Muslims are on Facebook. Now, there's one person called Muhammad Sadim Isa. He stated, Chris Claus, Jesus rejected Christianity. His disciples called it blasphemy, yet you still try to defend this rejected lies. Yet you still claim to follow Jesus. Scripture and history is proof of this. I say, so apparently Jesus rejected Christianity, and then he goes on to say, the disciples called it blasphemy. Now, let's deal with these two claims, then move on, because what Muslims do is they hurl a bunch of accusations, and then you don't address every possible accusation, and then they claim victory. So did Jesus and his disciples reject and call Christianity blasphemy? Well, the earliest accounts of what the disciples believed seems to suggest the disciples died for the belief that Jesus was God, whom took upon the form of a servant, died in that form to be resurrected on the third day, as he had already told them in the previous Gospels. So no, Jesus nor his disciples rejected or called Christianity blasphemous. Also notice he doesn't cite any sources. He just makes those blank claims. That's normally what Muslims do on Facebook anyway. He then says, we do not follow Christ because scriptures and history prove it. Yet he doesn't cite the text to prove his assertion. This is likely a theme with Muslims making accusations without evidence. Next, he says, neither the name Judaism or Christianity is found in the Bible, not even a Bible dictionary. No Israelite prophet mentioned the word Judaism. Jesus never claimed to establish Christianity on earth and never called himself a Christian. Now, I'm sorry to say, but I'm sorry, but to say the word isn't there, so therefore it's false, is a second-grade argument, at best. The equivalent to that argument would be, my dad is tougher than your dad. Right? So then he keeps on going to say, according to the ancient church historian Irenaeus, the Ebionites believed the one God creator taught that Jesus was the Messiah, used the gospel according to Matthew, and rejected Paul as an apostate from the Jewish law. Ebionites were known to still exist in the 4th century. Some had left Palestine to settle in Transjordan and Syria, and were later known to be Asia Minor, Egypt, and Rome. Yes, and then my response, of course, to this would be, yes, there are many heretical groups in history. It still does not prove the group he mentioned were in fact the disciples of Jesus. And of course, if they did believe in the Gospel of Matthew, then they would believe that Jesus did die and was resurrected, because that's what Jesus stated in the Gospel of Matthew. Maybe he didn't know this. Then he says, early followers of Jesus rejected the Antichrist Paul and his lies and was accused of blasphemy. And then he quotes Acts 13:50, Acts 17:18, Acts 21:28, and Luke chapter 2, verse 11. Then he goes on to say, the Nazarenes have considered Jesus to be a divine, or never considered Jesus to be a divine God the Son, but he was given the Messiahship. The Nazarenes never accepted the teachings and writings of Paul. In fact, they looked upon Paul as an apostate who was not pure Jewish blood. The Jewish Christians refused to believe Jesus was divine. They were persecuted by the Pauline Church to accept the divinity of Christ, who never claimed to be God. So, here's where I'm going to expose the ignorance of most Muslims and how they argue on Facebook. Muslims must stop copying and pasting without reading their sources they're copying. Here's why. Muhammad Saddam says that Acts 13, verse 50 is evidence for the earliest followers of Jesus rejecting Paul and his lies and saying he was blasphemous. Is that what Acts 13 says, though? Well, let's look to see if Muhammad is correct or not. Acts 13:50 says, but the Jewish leaders incited the God-fearing woman of high standing and the leading men of the city. They stirred up persecution against Paul and Barnabas and expelled them from the region. The Jewish leaders, of course, here's my response. The Jewish leaders were the ones who were persecuting the early disciples. The Jewish leaders were the ones who had Jesus crucified. Yet Muhammad says these are the disciples of Christ. If he would have actually read the chapter, he would have known the Jewish leaders rejected Christ. And then he quotes Acts 17, verse 18. And here it says, a group of philosophers basically began to debate him. Some of them asked him, what is this babbler trying to say? Others remarked he seems to be advocating foreign gods. They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Now, we all know where Paul went to. They were polytheists, right? But you only get that if you read the whole chapter. So here, apparently, he describes the philosophers are now the disciples of Jesus, because he's saying that the disciples of Jesus rejected Paul's message, and he's quoting Acts 17:18. So now he's saying a group of Epicurean or Stoic philosophers, philosophers, they're now the disciples of Jesus. Really? I was like, and apparently in Athens. Now I'm starting to think he didn't even read the sources he cited. Well, let's look at one more, and that's in Luke chapter 2, verse 11. It says, today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This verse doesn't even mention Paul. So do you say the disciples and Jesus rejected what Paul said and said it was blasphemous, complete nonsensical? Shows how Muslims don't read what they copy and paste. Now, that's just for Muhammad here. And then he goes on to talk about Mithra and Mithras, which just shows nothing about Christianity, because all those myths were created after the death of Christ. Now, the last person I want to speak about is Stephanie Gloria. Now, a lot of people may know her from Facebook, and I would caution anybody on interacting with this individual anymore anyways. So here's some things that was going on. Miss Stephanie, who thinks calling somebody a liar is therefore refuting anything. So here's what Miss Stephanie said to me in Facebook today. She says, Chris Claus, you mean missionary. When I told you I was in Germany, I told you I am moving to Munich. The Muslim preachers are my friends, alhamdulillah to Allah, and they understand the case I was in explaining to your big lies. The big liar is you. No wonder you are a missionary. That happened when most of you worked hardly to make me suspect and bring fake hadiths. That was after I saw the vision of Jesus. I'm not surprised of what you do. The mean missionaries, no word can express him. You begin to ask me why I don't leave Islam or Islam after you bring plenty of fake hadiths like you always tell lies. So your plan had failed, big liar, and I'm in strong faith than ever before. So, and then she says, don't ever try, nor anyone, just expressed how mean missionary you are. So my response to this would be, so her whole rant focuses around her saying she was leaving Islam over doubts that she had, and that I was telling her things that were lies and even used fake hadith. You would think someone who tries this hard to say you're a liar, it almost made her leave her religion, she would know what lies you said, right? So I said, what did I lie about? I asked, what did I lie about your Muslim teachers are telling you? And I swear to God, this is her response. She says, Chris Claus, it was on my main account that I lost. You used many fake hadiths, and you've been caught lying many times by others while you're playing a victim and innocent. I know your game now as a missionary, and I know all your games you're playing. So here she says she doesn't even know what I was even lying about. All she knows is that I lied. This has got to be the height of ignorance. She calls someone a liar and doesn't even know why she's calling the person a liar. I really hope her Allah is proud of her for making up a lie about a Christian. Oh, wait, remember, he is the greatest of deceivers, so I imagine he would be proud, actually. So again, Stephanie Gloria, you're calling somebody a liar. You don't even know what they're lying about. Muhammad Isa, I quoted those verses that you put in Facebook. None of them actually say what you want them to say. So next time you're actually arguing on Facebook, sir, my recommendation for you would be to actually read the sources that you're going to cite in your response, just so you don't look as ignorant as what you normally do. Other than that, Eric, that's all I had for today.
Well, that was kind of short.
Yeah, I didn't really have much.
Okay.
I was hoping that we could give Nadir some of the time, because I really disagree with what he says, right?
Yeah, I watched the debate that he had with Samuel Green, or watched portions of it. I didn't watch the entire thing, but there was several things that were said that I'd like to interact with him on. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and just set the anachronisms that we were going to discuss off to the side. And I am going to bring Nadir up on mic now. He is not muted. You are unmuted, Nadir. What is that? What is that motif you got going behind you there? Is that like a? It's a really nice backdrop.
Oh, I thank you. It's to cover up my dirty room. It's like a little.
So you don't have a disorganized bookshelf sitting behind you like
Oh no, you're gonna see clothes. You're gonna see all kinds of stuff just flown everywhere.
Well, we appreciate you doing that for us.
No, you're gonna see my underwear.
No,
also.
I was gonna say we just keep that there, and
yeah.
along with your socks, you can go ahead and do that.
That's why I got this black curtain. It really helps.
Well, it looks nice.
Yeah.
You know, I was shown today where on Zoom you can actually, I've been told that I need to get a green screen thing behind me, because there's all kinds of different backgrounds that you can put on your Zoom room thing. So I'm thinking about monkeying around with that later. Anyway, okay, sir, you were going to discuss Deuteronomy 18, chapter 18, verse 18, if I'm not mistaken. We were going to talk about how the Quran says that we would find Muhammad in the Bible.
Absolutely,
and we would find him in the Torah and the Injil, but you're going to stick specifically with Deuteronomy 18:18. Am I correct on that?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, all right. The mic is yours, sir. Go on ahead.
So, so basically this was about a debate I had with Samuel Green. And there was an amazing amount of agreement on the facts. And we all agreed. So, the verse basically stated that I will raise up a prophet like you, referring to Moses. And when we looked at the facts regarding of who Moses was and who he was and what he was, and we compared it to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was no dispute about it. Muhammad is uniquely and spectacularly just like Moses. In fact, no two people on earth are like Moses and Muhammad. These are facts, indisputable facts. We presented it to Samuel Green, and he accepted, yes, that is a fact. That is true. So really, that ended the discussion right there. That ended the debate right there. And I believe it also ended all of Christian apologetics. So basically, I want to thank you guys for all participating.
We'll close with prayer and we can all go home
Nadir,
now, right?
I just want to say something here first. So Nadir, do you honestly think that having one Christian agree with your premise proves that therefore Muhammad is in the Bible?
No, they're facts. I could give you the facts, which we all agree on. They're indisputable.
Well, the first one that I'd like to talk about is the warrior.
Yeah.
What type of warrior were they? Warrior prophet.
Yeah. Warrior prophet.
Yeah. How many wars did Moses go in?
Well, we have a battle in the book of Numbers, chapter 31, verse 18. We have the battle over there where he basically commanded.
What battle is that, sir?
Well, I don't know the name of the battle.
Okay,
no, sir.
I'm going to bring
if
it.
You're
I'm
actually going to call him a warrior prophet. You should know the battles that he fought in.
Wait a second. Are you saying he's not a warrior prophet?
I would disagree with that. I would say he's definitely not
he's a warrior prophet.
But go ahead. What Numbers 31? Which verse, Nadir, did you say?
Numbers chapter 31, verse 18.
18. Okay. Let me share my screen here.
Now, I would say Joshua was a warrior.
Yes, Joshua was definitely a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't agree that Moses was a warrior in any sense of the word.
Mm-hmm. Did he command soldiers into battle?
That doesn't make him a warrior prophet, though.
Not really.
Muhammad participated in the battles.
Okay.
Moses didn't participate in the battles. Okay, 31:18. That's not it. That's not the verse. It's probably the chapter. You're probably right on the chapter, but not the. Let me see if I can. Moses, Eli's, the priests, and all leaders of the community went to meet outside the camp. Moses was angry with the officers. Oh, because the officers are the ones who participated in the battle, not Moses. So this would not make Moses.
But he was okay. So what role did he play? He was ordering these commands. Go out and fight. He led the army into battle, but he himself didn't really.
Sir. He didn't lead the battle. He didn't lead the army into battle.
This would.
That's not what it says.
This is what I would say. The equivalent would be saying like President Donald Trump is a warrior president because he commanded soldiers to go into battle.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make him a warrior president.
Well, he started these wars. He cleared up and freed the home or the promised lands, right?
No, he did not. Joshua did that.
Under the command of Moses, he basically Joshua and Moses.
Moses never entered the promised land. Moses died.
No, he never entered. He never entered it. But let's look at Numbers chapter 31, verse 18. Could you share your desktop and we can read that?
It's on. I have it up here.
In the Bible. In the Bible, when did Moses die, and when?
Well, I don't know what year. I don't remember that. No, I don't have that information.
It was before they took over the promised land, right?
I'm not sure.
It's
okay.
True.
So you don't even know about Moses' life, but yet you're saying that him and Muhammad can be the only two people alike. This to me doesn't make much sense, sir.
Well, that's because when he says stuff inside chapter 18, now go kill all the boys, kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save yourselves, every little girl who has never slept with a man. So when he orders these type of commands, my definition is this is a great warrior. Well, this is a warrior prophet.
No, but it's not. But this would not be comparable with Muhammad because Muhammad. I mean, this is where you're trying to conflate the two. When you have Muhammad is an active participant in the battles, where you could call him a warrior prophet. Whereas Moses did not participate in these battles. Moses was more of a president or a leader who commanded people to participate in the battles, where he himself did not. So the equation, and this is where we're saying that we don't agree with you at all on this, to say that Muhammad was a warrior prophet and Moses a warrior prophet. And this is clearly not true when we examine the text here.
Well, it looks like you guys got your own definition of warrior prophet, and I got mine. Simple. End of story. And me and Samuel looked at the facts, and he does agree. And there's many people who would agree that when we look
you're
at,
on my show.
don't cut me off. Hold on 1 second.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's many people who would agree that the role which Moses played qualifies him as a great warrior prophet. Many people, many Jews, many Christians. So it looks like it's just a matter of how you define it. He did orchestrate these battles. He orchestrated these wars, and that would make him, at least in our eyes, a warrior prophet. Yeah.
Well, and here again, you were on my show about 1.5 years ago, I think it was, and you're always a good guest, by the way. I'm gonna, I want you to know that I always enjoy having you on the show.
Thanks.
And because you're on twice, and the first time you came on, and I actually agreed with you on this because I really didn't, I just kind of accepted what you were saying at face value. But during the week, I went back and looked, and I found no place in the Bible where Moses leads people into battle. Now, there is a spot in the book of Numbers, I believe it is, where, not Numbers, well, maybe it is Numbers, where he is holding out his hands, holding up his arms while a battle is being conducted, because he's giving his blessing to the forces there. But that is the only place where you could actually equate him to actually participating in the battles, which would make him a warrior prophet. Where the fact of the matter is that he did not participate in the battles, so he's therefore not a warrior. So therefore he's not a warrior prophet. So therefore Muhammad, who did participate in battles and who you say is a prophet, he would be a warrior prophet. So the two do not.
Well, I think we're just going back and forth on the same issue. We seem to have our different definitions of what a warrior prophet is.
Well, how would he be a warrior? How would you classify him as a warrior then? That's what
well, you don't have to. Okay, my classification is he doesn't really have to physically participate into battles. He basically he gave commands. He said inside Numbers chapter 31 verse 18, he basically gave commands to go out and kill. He gave commands to go and fight. So that would qualify him, at least to our definition as a warrior. But though he himself didn't do that.
Where are you getting that definition from, Nadir?
Well, this is the way we view it.
Where are you getting that definition from?
This is the way we understand
what a
warrior would be. There's many people, me, Samuel Green, and others.
Well, Chris, I was one of those people who did agree that first time until I went back and I actually looked. And I don't know Sam. I don't know Sam Green. But I'm thinking that if he would actually go back there and look through the book of Numbers and look at your source here, Nadir, that he would probably now disagree with you. That's just, and I can't speak for him, but I would say that he would disagree. Okay.
Well, we all agree that Moses dispatched armies. He told them to go out and fight these wars. We all agree on that, right?
No. Which wars? This is one war with the Midianites.
So you're saying that he never dispatched any armies to go out and fight?
That's not what I said. This is one war where it's dispatched to go fight the Midianites, who were antagonizing the Jews. If you notice, after this occurs, the Jews spend 40 years wandering in the desert, and Moses never goes into the promised land to reconquer the cities of Jericho and Ai and all those other separate cities. It was Joshua who did that. Joshua would be the warrior. Moses would not be the warrior, because Moses led the Israelite people out of Egypt. Go on ahead. Mike Shears, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, we agree that Moses dispatched armies to kill the 5 Midianite kings and slaughtered the Midianite men. I mean, he orchestrated and dispatched these armies. Now, to us, at least the way I look at it, the role about dispatching armies to go out and to fight and in these battles, Muhammad not only fulfilled this role, but he also participated in a lot of the battles as well. So there is similarities there. Now, whether you want to call it warrior, prophet, generals, a lot of people see Moses as a general. Some see him as a warrior, but he was clearly had a militaristic mind frame, and we see the same thing in Muhammad. He also did the same role. So
I
this
would
is what
disagree.
we
So
meant by
this is
that.
then just okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just make sure we clarify here. Just
Mhm.
because you say that it's the same does not necessarily make it the same. I understand your desire to equate the two because it's prophesied in the Quran that we'll find Muhammad in the Torah, but it does
Mhm.
not make it true. They
Mhm.
did not participate in the same role in the same manner
Oh
in
no, there are
battle.
differences in the role. I mean, of course, there's differences in the role. Yeah, sure.
What, Nadir? Can I throw an objection to your argument?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
during the time of, I believe, King David, Nathan would have been the prophet at that time, Nathaniel, and he would have been telling the king what to do and to exercise the wars at that time. Would you believe that he was also a warrior prophet by the very same definition that you're given of Moses?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if they orchestrated wars, they led armies out into the battle, whether they're in the front lines or not, or they're calling the shots from the back, like how Moses did, where he ordered armies to go out and fight and kill the 5 kings of the Midianites. I see him as a warrior. Yeah, I see.
Okay, so
I would say so. Yeah.
even if we want to grant you that argument of
Hmm.
Moses being a warrior prophet,
Hmm.
you have to grant that Nathan as well is a warrior prophet. So now that has to be taken off the board of
Hmm.
who the prophet of Deuteronomy 18:18 is, because you also said at the start that it can only be two people. No
Right.
other people can be alike
Mhm.
them, right?
Well,
But we
no,
just
not
found
based
out
on just a warrior. Not so.
just let me
Let's see
finish
what we
though.
can agree on.
Let me
It looks
finish
like we.
though.
Yeah, yeah.
So you would have to agree that Nathan is a warrior prophet. By your very definition, we have to throw
Right.
that category out.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I see anyone who participates in wars, leads armies into battle, whether he's doing it from the background or whether he's actually on the front lines. We see them as warriors. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Okay, so now
Well,
that
maybe
that
maybe
category
the
is out,
word warrior is what we're getting hung up on. It looks like we all agree on the facts, but maybe the word warrior is what people are, uh, they don't like. So let's put the word aside, and we all agree that Moses basically commanded an army to go out and to fight the Midianites and kill the 5 kings. We do agree that, and there were battles and
yes, we can
wars.
agree that
Okay, good.
there was many prophets in the Old Testament that did the
Okay,
exact same thing. Yes.
okay. Let's put the word warrior aside. So Muhammad also fulfills this role as well. He also orchestrated and told armies to go out and fight. So we do see there is similarity there. They have this military mindset. So this is where the similarities is coming in. And so that was just the first one. The second thing is the second point, which I brought up, is in the beginning, Moses was in the minority of one. When he received the revelation, I think it was Mount Horeb. Muhammad received the revelation on Mount Hira. So we see that in the beginning they didn't have an army, but through their skill, their ability, they were able to muster up this army. So we do see the similarity in both Muhammad and Moses. And then there was the
Oh,
second
just
one.
a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I have a rebuttal to that point before we
Yeah, yeah,
move
yeah.
on?
Hmm.
Okay, so you using that they were by themselves at the
Hmm.
start of their ministries, and then they built up to um, the warriors that they had and the army size that they had at
Hmm.
that time,
Hmm.
using whatever skills they needed to use at that point.
Right.
What I would say is now we're going to have to throw that category out as well, because we could name at least 3 or 4 other prophets in the Old Testament that were by themselves when they first received the revelation from God, and
Yes.
then had to go to others, tell them this. Therefore, as I would say about Nathan, going to King
Hmm.
David and getting bigger armies. So therefore, that category doesn't alone suit Moses and Muhammad. You can put many other prophets into that same category. So we're going to have to
Yes.
reject that as well.
Well, you're rejecting it because there's other prophets who fit that role. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what you're saying though is that there has to be specific similarities between Moses and this other prophet that are not visible in any other person. That these two people
No,
are
that's
the
not what I'm saying.
only ones that can be alike in those situations.
Nope. No, I think you misunderstand. Um, the Bible has many what I call warrior prophets. Okay, and again let's put away the word warrior. Let's use military prophets. Okay, maybe that might be a better word so that we don't get hung up on what it means. The Bible has many military prophets. Where the similarities between Muhammad and Moses are is that they both commanded an army to go out and fight. And that was the similarities between them. And of course, Muhammad did more than that. He actually participated in the battles. Secondly, we see that in the beginning they didn't have anybody. It was just them, and there are many other prophets who did the same thing. It's almost like there's this motif of the Bible where they do this, where you've got this military prophet. In the beginning, he doesn't have anybody following him, and then in the end, he conquers with a great large army.
And you would have to agree that both of those categories could be filled by a lot of prophets in the Old Testament.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the next? Well, instead of going to the next one, what is specifically only between Muhammad and Moses so that we know that it's Muhammad that's being spoken of? Mm-hmm. Because there has to be unique similarities that are only between those two, right? What are they?
Well, now if you look at 4 characteristics, they share these 4 characteristics which make them unique. Number 1, they were military prophets. Number 2, they built an army from ground up. Just in the beginning, it was just them. And then in the end, they built this army from scratch. That's the second one. Third, they were successful. They were successful at what they did. Fourth, they established a theocracy. They established a theocratic state. And then number 5, actually there's 5, I guess, they both led a migration, a massive migration of people. So you can imagine this picture that, here you are with just yourself, in the beginning, and now all of a sudden you're migrating people with thousands of people behind you with their belongings through the desert. So they both led a migration. So when you look at this, you don't see anybody in history other than Moses and Prophet Muhammad filling this role.
If I can just add, can I interject here real quick, Nadir? This is Radical Moderate, by the way. Sure. Just really quickly here. So a couple of things. So you mentioned the similarities between Moses and Muhammad. Here's the problem with what you're breaking it down with. You just described Genghis Khan. You just described Attila the Hun. You just described several different warlords and leaders throughout the world. Julius Caesar, it could be argued, but no, he came from money, so maybe not. But you basically just described all kinds of various warlords, prophet warriors, Alexander the Great. Exactly. So that's not really a difference. See, when we say when the Bible says a prophet like Moses, what does the Bible say about this Moses? Did Muhammad speak to God face to face? As one friend speaks to another? That's what the Bible says Moses.
I disagree.
No, it says it. Well,
so let me answer.
Give me a
those
second.
questions.
I'm going to pull it up.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically right now, you mentioned that Genghis Khan fills this role. No, he does not. Okay, Genghis Khan was a warrior, or you could say a military person. So yes, Genghis Khan does resemble Moses in the sense that Moses was a militaristic person. Genghis Khan was a militaristic person. You got some similarities over there. There may be 1 or 2 more, and that's fine. That doesn't refute or dispute anything I'm saying. There could be many people who could resemble Moses, and they do. Look, I resemble Moses. I don't eat pork. I'm circumcised. I believe in the Shema, like they do. So even I could say I resemble Moses. So the issue here is I'm not claiming that nobody could ever resemble Moses. There's millions of people who resemble Moses. There's millions of warriors. But the question here is we should be looking for a prophet. Genghis Khan didn't declare himself to be a prophet who resembles Moses. And nobody resembles Moses in all 5 of these categories. 1 or 2, yes. There are people who establish a theocratic state. There are people who built an army from ground up. There are people who fought battles and wars and won and were very successful. There are people who are like that all throughout history. No one's claiming that those people never have existed. But what we are saying never existed is a prophet, a man who claimed to be a prophet, who was a military, who led a military army, who was actually successful and who established successfully a theocratic state and led a migration. If you look at all 5 of these categories, no one other than Moses and Muhammad existed. And this is not just my opinion. Historians have also weighed in on this as well. And I could read you some historical references in which it says Moses resembles Muhammad very much so. So this is just not something, well, okay, this is a Muslim, I'm trying to make this, I'm trying to fake it till you make it, you know, kind of thing, trying to make Muhammad look like Moses so we can evangelize. It's not the case. Many people have made those
Nadir.
and if you like, I can share that with you, show some of those
Nadir.
historical references. Yes.
Nadir, what is the, where do you get the definition of one like Moses?
One like Moses can be found inside Deuteronomy chapter 34.
So you use Deuteronomy chapter 34 as your reference to show what this coming prophet will be like?
Oh, so that's one of the definitions we can use. So did you want to post it real quick on the screen, or maybe if you like, I could do it. Do you want me to share my screen?
No, it's up on the screen right
The
now.
last time I was
then,
talking to you, you didn't even realize that Moses died before entering the promised land.
It says since then.
No. I totally accept that. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I accept that. But let's see what. Let's start with chapter 34, verse 9. Let's see what it says over there.
It says verse.
And,
it starts in actually verse 10. It says.
Well, I want to read verse 9 if I could.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. And Joshua, son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses has laid his hands on him. So the Israelites listened to him and did what the Lord had commanded Moses. Now look what it says. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses. So can we agree here that Joshua is like Moses?
No.
Okay, well, that's the way I think it's so clear. Let's read again. Now, Joshua,
no, but
the
you're
son
stopping
of Nun,
right in the middle of the. You're stopping right in the middle of the verse.
We will
That's
continue.
Why I disagree.
We will continue.
Okay,
well, we will continue to the rest of the verse. But my point here is when it says, "Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses." Who are they talking about? Who are they talking about?
Since when this was written, or where do you? I'm not following you.
He's referring. God is referring to somebody here. Okay. And it says, it just got done telling you, talking about now Joshua, the son of Nun, was filled with the Spirit. It goes on. And the next verse says, since then, no prophet has risen.
Okay,
in Israel
so you
like
notice that Moses is passing on leadership of the Israelites to Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who did Muhammad pass leadership of the Muslims on to?
Well, there's some dispute about that.
Well, that's the thing. This is where we start saying the two are exactly. I mean, you're saying that they're so close. There's no dispute here, where there is all kinds of dispute. Let's finish reading the verse.
Wait, before we finish reading, can we all agree on the obvious here? And as many Jews have also said the same thing, that this is clearly referring to Joshua. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses. Do you deny the fact this is talking about Joshua?
Well, there's no. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, this was an addendum.
You have to, because
this was
then
an addendum
to
Deuteronomy.
At the end of it,
because Moses
that's why
didn't
you're
write
denying
this
it.
No,
you are denying
the
obvious here. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses. And I agree with many of the rabbinical schools, many Jews and other Christians, and you read many commentaries, clearly identify this as Joshua, who is that prophet like Moses. And who is Joshua? You got it. He was a warrior prophet. That's why when you go into Google keyword search, warrior prophet, guess who comes up? Muhammad, number 1. Joshua, number 2, and I think I might find Moses.
Well, then why wouldn't you say that Muhammad resembled Joshua then?
He does resemble Joshua. They both are great military generals. They both are great warrior prophets, and that's my point here. Joshua, Moses, and Muhammad, they all fit well. They all resemble each other. Guess who doesn't fit in this group? Jesus. Jesus doesn't fit in this.
We're getting to
Joshua
that. Let's
yeah,
finish.
we'll
Let's
get to
finish
that.
verse 10.
Yeah.
Let's finish
No,
verse
no, no.
10.
Yeah, listen to it. When the Lord knew whom the Lord knew face to face.
Stop.
God knows everybody face to face, right?
No, not like Moses.
Hey,
Not
Eric,
like
just a
Moses.
sec.
Go ahead.
Just a sec, guys.
God doesn't know
Eric,
everyone face to face.
once you're done talking with Nadir, I think we have Bob the Builder in the room too, and he'd like to come up and say something as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's just do this. Moses knew God face to face because Moses spoke to God face to face.
Mhm.
People do not speak to God face to face like Moses did. Moses, as a matter of fact, when he came down from Mount Sinai, they had to tell him to cover himself because he still radiated from the glory of God. So to say that God knows everybody face to face in the same manner in which it is speaking here in this verse is not true at all. It's not. It's not even close.
Mhm.
Muhammad
Yeah.
did not know God face to face like Moses knew God face to face. Let's read verse 11.
Well, let me respond to that real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
This is why, see, the Christians, they don't have fact to back up what they say. It is all interpretations. These are all just interpretations of interpretations. He's now giving you his interpretation of what face to face means.
Well, okay. Okay? Let's just.
My interpretation of face to face means face to face. God knows everyone face to face. Why is that wrong? He didn't show where I'm wrong here. He just let me give you my interpretation here. And by the way, there's two ways you can interpret this verse. If you look at this verse, it's since then no prophet has arisen in Israel like Moses, referring to Joshua, whom the Lord knew face to face. So now he's glorifying him, he's edifying him. It doesn't mean that the prophet has to be like this in all these categories. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is, okay, now here are all the categories, what like Moses means. That is, so this what Eric is giving you is an interpretation of an interpretation.
Would you agree that Moses saw God face to face?
He did.
Unlike
Yes, he did.
what you and I have seen God face to face.
True.
Would that be a unique relationship there?
Yes, it would.
Okay, so when we get to verse 11, there's an additional, but what I'm saying there's an additional qualifier here.
Who did all those signs and wonders the Lord sent him to do in Egypt? Like throwing down the staff, right? And it turned into a snake.
Did Muhammad do any of these wonders?
Neither did Jesus or Muhammad performed the specific miracles which Moses did to Pharaoh in Egypt.
Notice it doesn't list the wonders. Did not perform signs and wonders. Do you believe Jesus performed signs and wonders?
Both Muhammad and Jesus both did miracles. That is correct.
They performed, well, that's not what it says. It says signs and wonders. Would you say that? Did Muhammad perform signs and wonders?
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have?
It's a common hoodwinkle which many Christians fabricate and deceive people like David Wood, Sam Shimon, in which they claim Muhammad never did any miracles. But the Hadith is filled with all kinds of miracles. I can share that with you if you like.
The Hadith turns Muhammad into a magician, is what it does. The Hadith were written down 250 years after he died, and the earliest
you
extent.
Have to reject the Hadith. Okay,
I do. Gotcha. Well, of course, yeah. Well, I reject a lot of the things that the Hadith say, but when you start saying the Hadith record the miracles that Muhammad performed, they're written down 250 years after the fact, which allows for plenty of time of embellishment. And on top of that, the earliest extant copy of any hadith is 400 years after he dies. So to say that, to provide some type of veracity or some type of authority to the hadith, to make a comparison between Muhammad and Moses is, as I said, it's myth, lore, and would you say that interpretation? So what you say, or how Christians interpret it. But let's get back to this face-to-face thing. You're not going to sit here and say, you're going to say that, okay, Moses did see God face-to-face differently, because this is what it's doing. It's differentiating Moses from all the other prophets. Say Moses saw God face-to-face differently. You'll admit that. But at the same time, you'll say that Muhammad did not do that. So when you say that Muhammad and Moses are almost the same, Muhammad is a prophet like Moses, when it clearly says Moses or Muhammad is not a prophet like Moses. Why? because he didn't see him face to face, and he didn't perform any signs and wonders. So you can't make that comparison based on the biblical standard, not the standard that we as men set, saying he's a warrior prophet, saying that he led people out on the Hijra, which is something else that we're going to get to here also here in a minute.
Sure.
That there is no comparison.
Well, let me first back up and address what you were saying about the hadith and doing miracles. See, I don't have a problem with what you're saying. If you don't believe in hadith, that's fine. But that's what should have been conveyed to the people, rather than saying Muhammad never did any miracle. His only miracle was the Quran. Rather than deceiving people like that, you should have said, well, the miracles are actually found. There's hundreds of miracles of healing people in the hadith, which mainstream Muslims, both Sunni, even Shia, believe. Actually, almost all Muslims believe. But me personally, I don't believe in it because I don't like the hadith. If it was conveyed like that, I would have no problem. But the fraud and the deceit is they're saying Muhammad never did any miracles. That's a lie. That's a deception. So, so my point here is, Muhammad, because there is this unpleasant fact that Muhammad does uniquely resemble Moses in the most spectacular way. Number one, they were both military men. They were successful military prophets. They established a theocracy successfully. Go home and try this. See if you could do that. You cannot fake these till you make it. You can't do it. And they both led this great migration. That mere fact is caused a lot of problems in Christians that they start fabricating and telling people, oh, Muhammad never did any miracles. No. So it's a matter of honesty here. And I would like actually an apology, because Christians owe an apology to Muslims for fabricating like that. Now, if you don't believe in hadith, that's fine. But we do, Who's Bob?
We have Bob wants to come up on the mic.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
You talked about Muhammad being like unto Moses.
Right.
And you mentioned the criteria of him being a general, the criteria of him leading a migration. That ignores all the ways in which they are dissimilar. The Exodus event was done through the power of God. God intervened dramatically and powerfully in history to allow the Exodus event to occur. The Hijra has none of that dramatic intervention of God. Furthermore, Moses is seen as the liberator and the founder of a covenant. Jesus is seen as a liberator and the founder of a covenant. Christ is one who is seen as God intervening dramatically in history.
Well, we'll get to all that.
Nadia. One second, Nadia. One second. Because you're pulling out what I would say are very spurious connections to Muhammad, whilst ignoring the more dramatic, the more impressive connections that you should be looking for to demonstrate your case, which we can also demonstrate with Jesus. Now, just one other final point is that Moses came in the name of Yahweh. Jesus came in the name of Yahweh. Muhammad comes in the name of Allah. Yahweh is a foreign god to him. So you're making these spurious connections and you're ignoring all the dissimilarities.
Okay, so let me try to address you. You threw a lot here because these are all different topics which we will get to. How is Jesus like Moses? Are there differences? Sure, there's differences. Did they worship the same God? Another hoodwinkle is that this is some kind of different God that Muslims believe in and stuff like that. This is all just basically a misinformation. You're saying that Jesus came in the name of Yahweh. I come in the name of Yahweh. I worship. Watch this, guys. Watch this, everybody. I pray to Yahweh right now. Yahweh, you are my Lord. Now, am I committing shirk? No, of course not, because we believe in the same God as what Moses, Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob.
Could you do that in the mosque in Mecca?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I challenge you to go to. Go to Mecca and worship Yahweh in the Kaaba. I doubt you'll get away with it.
Sure, I will. I have no problem of doing that. They will probably say, "Who is Yahweh?" We don't understand that name. But anyway, I have no problem of doing that because remember, the Torah was placed in front of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "I believe in thee and the God of thee." So if Muhammad himself can do it, I do so too. Again, the Torah was placed in front of him. He said, "I believe in it and the God of it." Okay, so that's why we all believe in the same God. And I know there's some divisive people who try to say, "Oh no, no, you believe in a different God." But that's where my Jewish friends actually come in and help support us. In which we say it's really the Christians. If we're going to say that we all believe in a different God, they're going to say this: the Christians, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and these three are one. This Trinity. This is a different God that me and my rabbi friends can hold hands on. And we say, if anybody, it's the Christians who worship something different. And the final point here, if you look in the New Testament, Jesus never used the term Yahweh either. So the whole thing, the whole canard that Muslims are somehow worshiping some different God. But yeah, find me the verse if you.
I'm sorry, he used the Greek equivalent. He used the Greek equivalent.
Well, that is all an interpretation of an interpretation of an interpretation. But let's get back to where we were, which was Deuteronomy chapter 34. Since then, none has arisen a prophet like Moses. Who is that person? He's talking about Joshua, and he was a warrior. Joshua resembles Muhammad very clearly. At least it does to Google. If you type warrior prophet in Google, guess who comes up? Joshua and Muhammad.
Nadir, we don't do our theology through Google. No, come on.
Because they resemble each other so good that even others are making the same comparison. The problem is here that Deuteronomy chapter 34, it is ended. We know it has to be a military fighter type prophet who, when God said, like Moses, that's what he meant. Muhammad fills that role very good. So much so that even the algorithms of Google are picking them both up on putting them on the front page, on the first page.
You can't use Google as your prophet.
It's over. No, I'm not using Google. I'm using Deuteronomy chapter 34, and like I said, it is clear. This is like Moses has been defined. Now, when it goes on, it says whom Moses knew face to face. Again, there's two ways you can interpret this. The first interpretation is, okay, now the likeness of Moses, what he meant is just Joshua. Now he goes on to edify, glorify who this person was. And he talks, and then Moses did these miracles in Egypt. You know, he threw the staff down and it turned into a snake to Pharaoh. Jesus and Moses and Muhammad didn't do these miracles. So this can't be like Moses, what he meant. This is something very unique to Moses. That's why I'm saying this is the right interpretation here. So I think this verse, Deuteronomy chapter 34, seals the deal, and I don't see any need to go any further. But go ahead.
Okay, let's go back to chapter 34. Who did all these signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to do in Egypt. So if we're looking for a prophet, we're looking for somebody that performed signs and wonders.
That's one interpretation.
Well, that's what it says. It's not an interpretation. It says who did all the signs.
Two ways you can read that.
Okay, Nadir, before we keep going, where are you getting these two interpretations? Are you making them up, or can you reference the source where you're getting these two things from?
When you read the verse, it yields two different understandings, two different interpretations.
Who says?
Well, you can read it, and by logic and reason, you can read it and see it two different ways. The interpretation you are giving excludes both Moses and Jesus because they didn't do the miracles of the staff, of the snake. I'm sorry, the staff turning into a snake to Pharaoh.
No, your interpretation does, sir.
Okay, well.
Our interpretation says that the one that like Moses, the one that's going to be like Moses is going to perform signs and wonders from their Lord.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to specifically be throwing a rod down and turning to a snake. But it said signs.
No, it does have to say that because it said that he did in Egypt to Pharaoh.
Signs and wonders.
which he did in Egypt to Pharaoh. That's what it's referring to.
Where else did Moses do those type of signs and wonders other than Egypt?
I don't remember him throwing down his. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a miracle in which God did that, I believe, in Horeb, right? The
What was
staff,
that,
throwing
sir?
down the staff, and it turned into a snake.
So basically, almost every sign and wonder that Moses ever performed in his lifetime would have been during the Egyptian Exodus. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah, in the Egyptian Exodus. Yeah, well, he also fed the people in the wilderness.
That was in the land
The
of
manna
Midian,
and
which
quail?
is Saudi Arabia. That's not in Egypt.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying he did many miracles like this, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Did
But there
Jesus
was some
feed
but
the people in the wilderness?
And Muhammad also fed people. This is the miracle of food being multiplied for the masses. Muhammad also did this miracle too. So we
Well,
can't use this as a criteria
no, the only thing
about
that
feeding the
I have,
masses. Okay.
the only thing that I have is you're going to quote these miracles that Muhammad does from the Hadith, of course, right?
Right, yeah.
Now, they may be true, they may be not. I'm not going to discredit the Hadith. But typically, if the sign and wonder is not in the Quran and only found in the Hadith, why can't we say that it is simply made up because it's not in the sacred scriptures?
Can I say something?
Because then you are dragging the discussion into a quagmire, because if you attack the Hadith, we'll attack the New Testament and say, well, that's all fabricated too. So then now we are left with nothing.
No, sir.
You see? So this is what you're doing. You're trying to drag the conversation into a quagmire because
the New Testament isn't Hadith.
Yeah. We can knock out the New Testament. If you attack the Hadith, we can definitely discount the New Testament as well, and say no, that's wrong. When the New Testament made, so let's just accept the scripture as is, what it presents to us.
I want to hear from Asana. Yeah. Asana, go ahead. Asana.
Oh, you got to turn the mic off. Okay.
There you go. That helps.
Right. So this is the problem with what you're asking, even as far as the Quran or Muhammad. Now, in the New Testament, it says, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and will show great signs and wonders, so as to mislead, if possible, even the elect. So if Muhammad had several miracles in the Quran, you would say he was just a false prophet. You wouldn't, in other words, that because Christ said that anybody's doing these signs and wonders will be a false prophet. So there's no reason to believe that if the Quran was just littered with miracles of Muhammad, you would just say all of them are fake miracles. The devil did.
No, sir. We would have to take everything into consideration, because it also said one that preaches a different gospel too, right?
Okay, but let me say this though. But
so the person that preaches a different gospel than them,
wait a minute,
is also doing the signs and wonders.
Wait a minute,
that
Chris.
Person is a false.
Wait a minute, Chris. Wait, Chris. The whole idea of you saying that Muhammad is a false prophet is you have to have some criterion. You're saying you're actually making this explanation that there is no miracles. There is nothing. There's nothing to show. So what I'm saying is you're actually disqualifying yourself and calling him a false prophet, because you're saying he did no miracles, and you would literally have to do miracles to be a false prophet.
John I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Just Asana, hold on one second, okay? Just hold on 1 second, because you're coming into this discussion. You didn't hear the context of why this was brought up. Hold on, because you just came in. You didn't hear the context. So the reason why we're discussing whether Muhammad performed miracles or not is not to say whether he's a true prophet or a false prophet. The question is that what Deuteronomy 34 verse 10 and 11 say that it means to be like Moses? It says that he performed, this prophet will perform signs. So it's not how will Christians view Muhammad's miracles if he did any. The question is, did he perform miracles? If so, does that qualify him as being the prophet like Moses?
But that's the same thing as the point as Jesus didn't have any nation. He didn't rise a nation. He was not the head of nation. And what Christians do is they get slick and they go, yes, he's the king.
Okay, you're not responding to what I just said. The question is, does the Quran say that Muhammad did miracles or not?
I think
The hadith
I don't
does.
think I don't think it's even. I think it's a pointless thing actually, because John the Baptist didn't do any miracles at all.
Okay. Hold on a second. Are we saying that John the Baptist is the prophet like Moses?
No. Listen to
Okay,
what I just said.
then we're not talking about that. Hold on a second. Hold on.
But you're
So
being
does the Quran say that Muhammad did miracles? Yes or no?
Listen what I just said. You're being dishonest.
No. Answer the question, please.
No.
Answer the question, please.
It doesn't have to. The Quran
Does the
is not
Quran, sir,
listen.
Hassan, hold on a second. Does the Quran say that Muhammad performed miracles? Yes or no?
The Quran is not about Muhammad. It's
Okay.
about Allah.
I don't know why you're not answering the question.
Because it's a pointless question.
Nader, can you answer the question? Does the Quran say that Muhammad performed miracles or not?
Explicitly, if you're looking for an explicit verse, it's not there. But what there is a verse about the splitting of the moon. This is actually mentioned in the Quran, and this was a miracle which Prophet Muhammad did. This is all mentioned in the Hadith. And what I'm asking from the Christians is, if you want to deny the Hadith, okay, fine. But at least you should have been honest and said, the miracles are in the Hadith, and this is what like 100% of all Muslims believe in. But I want to deny it.
Oh, okay.
That would have been an honest response, which I would have wished to hear from.
May I come in?
Yeah, just 1 second. So normally what Muslims tell us is that if the Hadith contradict the Quran, throw the Hadith out, not the Quran, right?
No, that's not true.
Okay, so if the Hadith contradicts the Quran, you follow the Hadith, is that right?
That is true.
Some people say that.
Okay,
I hear that at Speaker's Corner all the time.
Yeah.
So Nader, are you saying that the Hadith can contradict the Quran and still be true?
I have never really seen a contradiction between Hadith and Quran.
I have.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
It's a matter of interpretation. But the thing is this, 100% of all of the scholars, all of the Muslims, even the Quran-only people, we all accept that Muhammad did miracles. And the dishonesty which you guys are not accepting tonight. Hold on, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. You should have said, okay, by saying Muhammad did no miracles, that was a lie, actually, which is being propagated by Christians, when in fact it's all written, hundreds of them.
Sir, that's what the Quran says. The Quran says he did no miracles.
Okay, show me the verse. Show me the verse where it says that. That's all. See what you're doing. When you tell one lie, you got to tell another lie to defend the first lie. Show me where it says.
Okay, so
hold on a second.
No, I'm gonna.
Show me the verse where it says that. Where is the verse where it says Muhammad did no miracles?
Can I just ask who's hosting this conversation?
Go ahead. I am Bob. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, Nadir, I listened very carefully to everything that you were saying, and you didn't address the main point that has been proposed to you. The people on this panel have asked you very clearly and very specifically to identify from Scripture, not your own opinion, where you are establishing the criterion from for saying that Muhammad is the prophet like unto Moses. And your criterion that I've heard you speak of is that he is a general and that he led people on a migration. Now, I need to correct you. He led people.
Theocracy.
He led people. Oh, and a theocracy, yes. And he led. Nadir, if you could just hold back for a second, firstly, I just want to address the tone of your comments. You do not marshal your arguments well when you generalize about Christians lying. If we were to say that about Muslims, you would accuse us of being Islamophobic. You're guilty of being Christophobic. Now, the criterion that is there in Deuteronomy 10 has already been expressed to you repeatedly by a number of people. All the signs and wonders the Lord had sent him to do in the land of Egypt. So these are the things that the kind of miraculous things that he has done to Pharaoh and all of his servants and the whole land. So it's God's miraculous intervention into history that led to the Exodus. And it's important that you remember in Deuteronomy 18, when it talks about a prophet, I shall raise up from your countrymen one like unto Moses, that in that same passage, just a few verses later, I'm sure you already know this, but the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or which he speaks in the name of other gods. Now, Muhammad did not speak in the name of Yahweh, and it is a total lie. It is. Then I would like to see your evidence, sir. I would like to show me from the Quran where Muhammad speaks in the name of Yahweh, because I'm pretty sure it says Bismillah, which is in the name of Allah, and Allah is an unknown God. He is a foreign God. The name of God in the Old Testament is Yahweh. That is the name that Moses came in. It's the name that he performed his wonders and signs in, and he led the people out of slavery to Egypt. Christ led the people out of slavery to the satanic powers. Christ came in the name of Jesus. He was from amongst the countrymen of Israel. So the question I'm going to stop, and then Nadir, I'd like you to respond.
Sure.
I would like to see from the scriptures, not your opinion, where it establishes the criterion as being leading people on a journey, establishing a theocracy, and being a general in battle, from Deuteronomy verse 10, which is the one that we're all debating about, because it clearly says signs and wonders. It doesn't say theocracy and leadership in war and going on a long journey. That's not there in the text.
No, Ahmed. Let me just say something.
Can I answer?
No, Ahmed. Let me just say something to him before you. I'm gonna make it very short. This is so funny. 1 minute you guys are saying Jesus is God, not a prophet, but God. A prophet, God can't be a prophet. And so you keep comparing Moses to Jesus, but you say Jesus was born miraculously. You say he's God in the flesh. None of these things Moses can qualify for. Jesus did not have any kind of kingdom, did not set up any really laws.
Yes, he did establish a kingdom.
No, what you do is, you do a symbolic kingdom. It's
a real kingdom.
Moses did a real kingdom.
No, it's a real kingdom. No, there is a real kingdom.
Where is it?
Just a second here, Bob. Asana.
Right here.
Wait a minute.
Second, because you're pulling this conversation. Asana.
Wait a minute. Can I talk? You guys talk. I didn't interrupt you.
You're going to hold on a second because you're pulling the conversation off in a different route.
No, because I'm saying there's a difference between
you're trying to disqualify Jesus from being the prophet of Deuteronomy 18:18.
Chris, I didn't do this to you.
We are not speaking about that.
Chris, I didn't do this to you.
Is Muhammad that prophet?
Chris, I didn't do this to you. I said,
oh my God,
you're talking about like Moses.
You're not listening to me.
Listen, someone like Moses would have to be a man, full-blooded man.
Okay, guys. So Bob directed his comments to Nader. I understand that's something you want to speak to.
Nadir,
so if you want to raise your hand or something, if you want to raise your hand, we'll let you talk too. But go ahead, Nader. Please address what Bob said.
Well, Bob, let me first ask you state the kind of this is kind of obvious here in verse 10. It said, "Since then, no prophet has arisen in Israel like Moses." Can you accept that this is referring to Joshua?
Let me just read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to read it from verse 9 now, Joshua.
Yeah.
So just bear with me 1 second.
I would ask, who cares if it's about Joshua or not? What's your point to it?
So, like Moses is, well, I'll tell you, let Bob go ahead and read the verse so you can make your judgment. And if you need some time to think about it, that's fine too.
So as Bob's reading it, we can agree that this is talking about
that have been warriors.
Yeah. So as Bob is reading that and he's coming to his conclusions, let me just ask you another. We do agree that
I've read it. I've come to my conclusion.
Okay. Just real quick, I'm gonna wrap this thought up real quick. We do agree, Nader, that like him, like Moses, refers to the same like Moses in Deuteronomy 18, right? There's been no prophet that's risen up like Moses. That's the same
interpretation. It is an interpretation, I would say. I would say it's a sensible
would you agree with that interpretation?
It's sensible. See, the thing is, what I try to do, I try to stay away from interpretations and only give facts. It's the Christians who give interpretations.
May I reply?
And so that's why I'm kind of backing away from that.
Well, hold on just a second, Bob.
Sorry.
When we start talking about interpretations, and we're when we flip back over to 34:10, and we start qualifying what a prophet like Moses would be. Verse 10 specifically says that whom the Lord knew face to face. And here's the thing. Why would they put that in there if that was not a qualifier? Face to face. If you're saying, well, I've known God face to face, know God face to face, that when you start talking about interpretation,
wait,
that is an extreme interpretation, because
you said God knows everybody face to face. What's your biblical evidence for that?
Is God all knowing?
No. can you answer the question? What's the biblical evidence that God knows everybody face to face?
Because God's all knowing. He
Okay,
created us.
but that's not okay. That's not what face to face means. Face to
That's your
face in Hebrew.
interpretation now.
Sir,
No, it's
hold
not
on.
interpretation. It's the context in
One
which it's
second.
clearly written.
The Hebrew idiom panim el panim, face to face, and you can ask. You referred to Jewish rabbis earlier. You can ask your rabbi friends, what is panim el panim, face to face? What does that mean in Hebrew? It's an idiom that we see expounded upon in Numbers, the 12th chapter, where God says specifically that this is something done uniquely with Moses. So it's not something that God does with everybody, every member of the human race. It's saying that this is something specific between God and Moses, that he knew God face to face in an intimate manner. He saw God. He actually visibly beheld God. That's what the text says.
Yeah, you just gave us.
No, it's not the interpretation. That's what Numbers 12. Read Numbers chapter 12, verses 6 to 8.
Don't know the difference between fact and interpretations.
Okay.
So, but anyway, what my point here is, look,
the problem is you don't know what you're saying. That
can I say something? Let me just. I think that spending a lot of time going past when it says, since then no prophet has arisen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Then it goes on in detail.
Okay.
I think that
according to you, that means nothing. It's meaningless.
No, what I'm saying is, I think the best.
Sir, is it your interpretation that face to face means God created everyone? He knows them. Is that what it means?
Well,
may I come in?
If we take it literally, and
that's your interpretation. That's your interpretation.
Hold on, guys. Let me make my point here, guys. My point here is when there's two interpretations here, and I think the one which let me first give both interpretations, and I'll tell you which one makes the most sense here. When it
you're going to tell us which one makes more sense. Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you which, and you guys are open to accept it or reject it. So my point here, which I was trying to make earlier, is once a scripture goes, whom the Lord knew face to face, whom did all the signs and wonders the Lord sent him to do in Egypt to Pharaoh. This is not what God means, that the likeness of Moses. Now God is glorifying, he's edifying, he's praising Moses. But what God specifically meant about since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses. This was just referring to Joshua. He's like Moses. Now I'm going to move on to praise him and do these things. Let me just finish my point. Why I'm saying this is the best interpretation here, because the text specifically said, whom did the signs and wonders, referring to miracles, the Lord sent him to do in Egypt to Pharaoh. Jesus didn't do that. Muhammad didn't do that. They didn't both throw a stick and it turned into a snake. So, and they didn't do the miracles which he did to Pharaoh.
All right.
So my point here is, I think that's the best interpretation of the text.
Okay, I have two people that want to jump in on this conversation.
Go ahead.
And Bob, Bob, I'm going to give you plenty of time, brother. But I have Olga and Ariel want to come in the conversation. So we're going to let Olga. I'm going to bring Olga in. Olga, hello, are you there? He has his hand up. He's had his hand up forever. He's maybe lost.
Oh, I'm here.
All right, go ahead, sir.
It's funny how I can't remember his name, but it's funny how he tries to me, he put everything on such a physical level. There is nothing spiritual about what Ahmed is saying. It's just everything is so superficial and so on a surface level. There's a very deeper meaning to the prophet like Moses. You know, everything that he does is such a, and that's what I realized with Islam, is how superficial, you know, they look at things. For example, he said he could be like Moses. He could be like Moses because he doesn't eat he doesn't eat pork, but he follow a man who eat camel. Moses didn't eat camel. So you see, to me, just like how superficially he look at things. And if you define who is like Moses, they ask, I think Chris asked him to define what it means to be like Moses. And all I see is a superficial, the things that is physical about Moses, what Moses did physically. There's no spirituality in the way he look at things. And he said Jesus could never be the one like Moses. But if you look at the comparison between Jesus and Moses in many things that Jesus does. Moses parted the Red Sea. You can do it. Sorry, man, this child.
Oh, what she has to say is important. Oh, I mean, it was just.
Yeah, Moses parted the Red Sea. Moses parted the Red Sea, and Jesus commanded the water to stay still. There is so much miracle in, and that's why the verse that you are trying to show him about the works and the wonderful works and the miracle and wonders that Moses did, and compared to the wonder that Jesus did, you could see the similarities in what Moses did and what Jesus did when it comes to the miraculous portray that shows that they are working with the Almighty God. When you look at what Muhammad did, nothing he do shows that the Almighty is with him. Nothing he do shows that the Almighty, everything is physical. Other people could have done anything that Muhammad did. But what we see Jesus do is showing creative miracle. Moses did creative miracle. Only the Almighty could have done the things that Moses did, and only.
Okay,
Amen.
I think he had to. Yeah, he had to.
Okay, I have another person here, Ariel. He's had his hand up for quite. I want to get as many people to participate in this as possible. Ariel, sir, I'm gonna. Oh, I just muted you. I'm sorry.
By the way, did Bob ever get back to us about is that prophet like Moses?
We're going to get to it.
Was that referring to Joshua? Can you accept that, Bob?
Well, Bob will get to that. I want to hear from Ariel. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quote from Numbers chapter 12, verse 6 and following. And the Lord said, "Hear my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak with him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face, clearly, and not in riddles. And he beholds the form of the Lord." So that's Numbers 12, 6 through 8.
Okay.
So it's explaining in Numbers.
Right. I'm bringing
Numbers 12 what it means to speak to God face to face. And if you also read in Exodus 33:11, it also explains that that Moses spoke with God face to face when he was on Mount Sinai. So it distinguishes Moses from the other Israelites as speaking with God face to face, and it explains that when you speak to God face to face, you're beholding the form of God. Now, Muhammad did not behold the form of God. He did not speak to God face to face as a person speaks to his friend.
Neither did Jesus.
When you speak to your friend, it's there's a back and forth. But Muhammad, he only got information from the angel Gabriel. He did not speak to him face to face. So if you look at Deuteronomy 34, verses 10 to 12, there has to be a prophet that would come after Moses that speaks to God face to face directly.
Jesus didn't do that.
That's not what the text says. I think you're misunderstanding what the text says.
Let's not get off topic here. This is qualifying. We're comparing Moses to Muhammad. We're not talking about Jesus right now. We'll do that.
Well, we know Moses is like Muhammad. That's a fact. Many historians have also said the same thing.
But we're demonstrating clearly here, Nadir, that it's not a fact. It's your interpretation, and is the gross interpretation, ignoring the majority of the body, the context of Scripture, that it's not.
Do you accept that Moses and Muhammad were successful military personalities in this world? They both led armies successfully. Do you accept that?
Go ahead, Bob.
May I come in?
Wait a second, hold on, Eric.
I don't accept that Moses was a military general. That's what we established at the beginning.
I didn't say
he was not a military man.
Did I respond real quick to that?
Nadir. Hi, guys. So I asked you a very specific question, and rather than answer my question, you simply asked me a question. Now, I'm going to do you the courtesy of answering your question, and then I would like you to do me the courtesy of answering my question that I'm now asking you for the second time. So my question that I asked you was, can you show me in Scripture the criterion that you are asking us to accept? Because the verses that you're using speaks about signs and wonders. It speaks about someone speaking to the Lord face to face, which my brothers have expanded upon quite clearly. It blatantly does. It says, who knew the Lord face to face? Those are the actual words that are there in the text. So now, Nadir, again, if you could just bear with us, sir.
Sure.
Now, we can exclude Muhammad from this because you don't believe that Allah enters into his creation. And if Allah doesn't enter into his creation, then Muhammad can't speak to him or know him face to face. Just as a side point, in the Gospel of John, it speaks about the Logos being proston theon, as in facing God. So the Logos is proston theon. So the word is facing the God. Just a point there. Now, the verses that we're talking about in Deuteronomy, which one was it? Deuteronomy 34:10. It says, no prophet again. You asked me about whether that's Joshua, and I have to say, no, it isn't. The break is coming at verse 9 when it's talking about Joshua being the successor, and then it's making a reference about Moses. No prophet ever again arose in Israel like Moses. So it's not referring to Joshua, it's speaking about Moses. And it says what makes Moses unique. It says Moses who knew the Lord Yahweh, that's Yahweh face to face. And he did all the signs and wonders the Lord had sent him to do in the land of Egypt. Now, you believe that Allah doesn't enter into his creation. You believe that sight cannot behold Allah, that you can't see the glory of Allah, and the face is the metaphor of knowing someone fully. And so by the understanding of your own doctrine, that can't be Muhammad right there. And I disagree with you, that's not Joshua. So my question to you is, from the verse, not your opinion, because so far all we've heard is your opinion, and it doesn't matter how strongly you state it or how clearly you say it's a fact, it doesn't make it a fact. Where is your evidence from the text that for the criterion that you're using? You've given 3 criteria. I don't see it in the text. So if you could show us from the text where it says a theocracy, a pilgrimage, and a great military leader, because I don't see it. But what I do see in the text is one who knew the Lord face to face, which excludes Muhammad because Muhammad can't see Allah, and one who performs signs and wonders in the name of the Lord, as we see from Deuteronomy 18, because that's using Deuteronomy to interpret Deuteronomy, which is fair because it's written by the same author. So it's got to be done in the name of the Lord. And you didn't address, again, you avoided it, like you've avoided all the other points. You didn't address the question about speaking in the name of Yahweh, because it says in Deuteronomy 18 that the prophets who are false will speak in the name of other gods. And clearly Muhammad never spoke in the name of Yahweh. And I'm still waiting for the evidence of where he did, because you said that he did. So I'd like to see the evidence of that, please. So 2 questions. Where in the scriptures is your criterion? And secondly, where does Muhammad speak in the name of Yahweh?
So when we say that like Moses, it's only really defined in one place. Deuteronomy chapter 34. Which talks about Joshua, which I think is hilarious, how Christians have to deny the obvious here. When it said, since then there has arisen not a prophet like Moses, this is clearly referring to Joshua, which many of our Jewish friends can clearly admit, and they've got it in the rabbinical writings. Many Christians also say the same thing. So I think this is what all Christians have. They cannot give you fact. All they can give you are false interpretations and twisting the text of the Bible. Why? Because it's game over for them. If they admit the obvious, that this was referring to Joshua, then they're going to have to concede the fact that, yes, God was looking for this military type prophet to come. And that's who Muhammad was. Nobody. And it's almost like there's this exclusive group between Joshua, Moses, and Muhammad. So much so that a Google keyword search on warrior prophet brings up, guess who? Joshua and Muhammad. Even the algorithms can see that.
Google's not evidence. Anyway, but carry on. I'm still waiting for answers to my question.
Well, see, but as we can see, look, the whole discussion tonight, I've only given fact. I don't give interpretations. This is only, and all the Christians are giving are interpretation. You have not only falsely interpreted the text to disqualify Joshua. I said, oh no, this is not referring to Joshua. But the second false interpretation is that who Moses spoke to God face to face. Therefore, that disqualifies Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's not what the text said. It said who God knew him face to face. And yes, Allah knows Muhammad face to face, because remember there was the ascension, the Isra wal Miraj, where God, where basically Moses was ascended, and he spoke to, and Moses spoke to God. I'm sorry, Muhammad spoke to God through a veil, but God knew him and saw him face to face. And the fact of the matter is, hold on, let me finish my point.
That's not face
to
face.
The fact is, we take it literally. God knows everybody face to face. There's no one here
That's
who God doesn't know face to face.
The hadith that you've quoted, I'm going to show that Nadir is not being honest.
I did not interrupt
the hadith
you.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. The hadith that you quoted, the hadith that you quote actually states this. This is what it states. It says, because Muhammad comes and he says to his wife Aisha, he says, how could I see Allah? Because he is veiled in light. That's what it says. So it says he doesn't see him, but Moses did see him. So by your own evidence, Moses is not like Muhammad.
Of course not. Look, the issue here, neither Jesus or Muhammad are absolutely like Moses, like a genetic clone. They all have differences in
Did Muhammad say in the hadiths, how could I see Allah? He is veiled in light.
No, nobody can see God and live. We believe that. No one.
Right. So
Muhammad did not see God, Allah.
Did Moses know God face to face according to this text?
Moses, if you read the Bible,
according to the text, not your opinion.
I believe Moses.
According to the text.
Okay, yeah, just Moses.
Who knew the Lord face to face?
I believe it's referring, when you say, did Moses know God face to face? Now, this is, I think, a reference to where God appeared to him in the burning bush. So
it wasn't only there, Nadir. It was only there. It was also
Numbers 12:8.
Yes.
12. With him, I will speak face to face.
I accept
Nadir, you're listening.
No problem.
Nadir, listen.
I'm accepting what you're saying.
Numbers 12. Numbers 12:8.
Move on.
With him, I will speak face to face.
Yes.
But now answer me this: in the hadiths, does Muhammad say, "I could not see Allah; He's veiled in light"?
Yes. Nobody can see God. Correct. There's a difference there. Absolutely.
Okay, Moses saw God though.
There you go.
He did see God, absolutely.
Okay, so we win. End of debate.
The problem is you are twisting the text of the Bible, and I think it's pretty funny.
No, that's what face-to-face means.
Hold on, let me answer, guys. I let you talk. Now, please allow me to speak. Now, remember, the first twist was the hilarious denial in which you are all claiming that that's not referring to Joshua when it said
that it's referring to Joshua. Clarify what you mean. It's not referring to. It's referring to Joshua.
So what the text here says inside Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 10, it talked about the verse before that said, and in fact, let me pull it up in front of me just so I don't paraphrase. Yeah. So, now Joshua, the son of Nun, was filled with a spirit of wisdom, because Moses had laid his hands on him. So the Israelites listened to him and did what the Lord had commanded Moses.
Which was then, to Israel,
Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses. This is a clear reference talking about Joshua.
But if it doesn't. It doesn't say that.
Hold on a second. If you concede to that fact, then it's game over. Hold on.
It doesn't say that.
We all see what's going on here because they know they will have to accept Muhammad as a true prophet because Joshua.
It says no prophet ever again arose in Israel like Moses, not like Joshua.
We can't.
It doesn't say Joshua. It says like Moses.
Bob, we can't shout over each other. So if they concede to that fact, then it's game over for them. So then the second twist, where they're now twisting the second time,
when they say
they're giving their own, hold on, I got to finish the point where it says, whom the Lord, God knew him face to face. This is, if we take it literally, refers to everybody. God knows
that's not what it
everybody
literally
face to
means.
face.
No,
That's
see,
not what it
here's
literally
what
means.
you're doing,
So
Nadir.
now
this is what you're
look,
doing.
we are done with this. Actually,
we're not.
we need to move on
Because
to
what
how
you're doing
Jesus
is you are
is
placing
like
your
Moses.
own
We
interpretation
are going back. Look at.
on this verse.
Okay.
You're placing your. Hold on.
I'm doing what you're doing. You gave your.
Eric,
I'm
don't let
reading
him
it.
control the conversation, bro.
I know that. I get that. I get.
Okay.
But I'm just trying to say, Nadir, what you're doing
It's
is you're
over.
saying that
It's game over for you guys.
How can you
All
say
you guys
it's
can do
game
is
over when you're
misread
sitting here telling us?
and misquote the text.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to how Jesus is like Moses.
Okay, before we get to that,
Are you able
let's
to
talk
mute,
about.
Nadir?
Yeah,
I want to go. I can. I don't like muting people. I don't like doing that because but let's just be all gentlemen here. Go ahead, Jay. Jay, go ahead.
Can I just make, okay, so before we go to Jesus and whether Jesus is like Moses or not, I want to talk about how we can know from Deuteronomy itself that Muhammad cannot be the prophet like Moses. And how do we know that? We can know that with certainty because, for one, Moses taught that God is our Father. Moses taught that God is our Father. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1, 32, verse 6, 32, verse 18. God is our Father according to Moses. According to the Quran, Muhammad said that Allah is a father to no one. He's nobody's father. Whether it's spiritual, like in chapter 5, verse 18, or physical, chapter 6, verse 101. No one is a child of Allah. So Moses tells us God is our father. Muhammad comes along thousands of years later and says, no, God is not our father. And then you want to tell us that Moses is like Muhammad, Muhammad's like Moses, when they contradict each other's theology. You can't be the prophet like Moses if you contradict his theology.
Muhammad is like Moses. That is a fact. So
just
this is not
repeating that, Nadir, does not make it a fact.
Okay, now let me address that point. So when it talked about, the question before was, well, where did it specifically say what like Moses means?
34:10.
Okay, 34:10 does, and that was Joshua. He has to be like Joshua. And so we don't see what you just stated, where there's a difference in using the term father. That's not stated as what like Moses means. Okay.
No.
I can quote the point that I made.
Here, hold on. Just respond.
What you are doing now.
Okay,
all the Christians.
One second. Just respond to the point that I made before you create something, and then you want to respond to that. Respond to the point that I actually made. The point that I made was that the prophet, like Moses, cannot contradict the theology of Moses.
Where's your evidence for that?
That's what it means to be like Moses. Moses, not in wars, not in pilgrimages or exoduses.
Show that to me in the Bible.
Okay, so you're telling us that God can reveal something to Moses, and then God can reveal something to Muhammad. They can be totally contradictory, and then you can say they're like each other.
Well, like Moses, when God said inside the book of Deuteronomy, like Moses, okay, Muhammad fits that role, and that is based on fact. Now,
okay, did Muhammad contradict Moses on this point?
Okay, are you going to let me finish? Okay, if you don't want to talk, okay.
Because you're not actually addressing the point.
There are differences.
Did Muhammad contradict Moses on this point? Yes or no?
Yeah. So the issue here is, if you look inside, the theology, Jesus brought a Trinity.
I'm not talking about Jesus. Stop introducing different topics.
Hold on a second.
Did Muhammad contradict Moses on this point? Yes or no?
No, he did not, and I'll tell you why. Because
is Allah your father? Is Allah your father?
Okay, can I talk?
Yeah, that's how we're gonna have the conversation, so we can actually get answers out of you.
Are you done?
Oh, I want to get answers out of you, not just filibuster. Okay. So can you answer the question? Is Allah your father? Is Allah your father? Yes or no?
Okay, no, Allah is not my father. We don't use that.
If you ask an Israelite, is Yahweh your father? Yes or no?
I'm done.
They'll say
you
yes.
don't want me to talk? Okay, I don't want to talk to you. Okay,
I got your answers.
Allow me to talk.
I asked you a question,
sir, but you're shutting me down.
Don't play games.
This is a sign of debate defeat.
Another point. Jay, hold on a second. I have another point that I want to address that Nadir had brought up. Nadir, hold on. You mentioned
the father part.
Wait. He's playing games right now. He's saying I'm not allowing.
Let's go on to this next point.
You don't want me to talk? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he's saying that I'm not allowed. Can I just address this, Eric?
Go ahead.
He said I'm not allowing him to talk. Yet I'm asking him straightforward questions. I'm allowing him to give the answer. I'm allowing him to give the answer, yes or no questions. He's giving me the answer that I'm responding based on his answers. So he is allowed to talk. He's just answering the questions, not just filibustering.
No, I was trying to say something, but you keep interrupting me. Can I talk now?
I'll give you 2 minutes. Go ahead, Nadir.
Okay, I get 2 minutes.
Let's go 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Ready, set,
I get
go.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. You're down to a minute 58. Hold on.
Yeah, but if he starts strawmanning or filibustering, I'm going to step
Let
in.
him talk for 2 minutes.
Don't interrupt me.
Go ahead.
Okay.
2 minutes. Go.
So you will see differences where the Quran is actually correcting the Bible in many ways, because there are mistakes. There are errors.
Okay, is the book of Deuteronomy mistaken?
God, please.
Is it corrupted?
Okay, you just interrupted me again.
I don't. Okay,
Eric, you did say I had 2 minutes.
Okay,
I have 2 minutes.
Is the book of Deuteronomy
okay? So now I don't have 2
yes
minutes.
No?
Okay, you guys, if you want me to leave, I'll leave. Simple.
Is the book of Deuteronomy corrupt? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Bible says so. Jeremiah chapter 8.
Okay, hold on.
So.
Whoa. Okay, hold on a second.
No.
So
okay,
if the book of Deuteronomy is corrupt,
whoever you
how are
are,
you going to use it to establish
yourself
the
and you don't even realize it, though.
How are you? He just took his headphones off. He can't hear us. So
I don't know.
That's fine though. I mean, he can put on.
Well,
his
I mean,
show
if he's going to say that, if he says that the book of Deuteronomy is corrupted, and he's using the book of Deuteronomy to confirm Moses being or Muhammad being prophesied, how can you do that if you're going to say a book is corrupted?
Exactly. I mean,
and then he also quoted the verse where they said that Muhammad believed in the Torah and he threw it at the feet of the people. I mean,
the thing is, the moment people like Nadir will use a text to verify that Muhammad is prophesied in the Bible, what they're saying is, if we were all to go, yeah, that's a great argument, I see what you're saying, I'll give my shahada. They're not going to stop us and go, oh, hold on, you're making your shahada based on a bad evidence because actually we believe this is corrupt. They'll accept our shahada as being for good reason. So in other words, they're saying that the text that they're using to prophesy Muhammad is a reliable text. But when that text actually contradicts them, they then flip 180 and go, actually, no, it's an unreliable text. And they can't have it both ways, and we've all cottoned onto that. And I think increasingly more and more.
I really want to go nail down on point 5, which was the similarities between the Hijra and the Exodus. Nadir, you can come back up. You mentioned that Muhammad left Mecca and made this Hijra to Medina, led a group of people from Mecca to Medina, whereas Moses led people out of Egypt into, he didn't lead them into the promised land because he never got there. And you're saying that there is a similarity, and we have to accept that as a factual similarity. There's so many differences here when you start saying, yeah, they both led people out of a condition. Okay, that's true.
A migration.
But number one, Muhammad only led about 150 people, and he didn't even accompany them when they were traveling to Medina, whereas Moses led in excess of, the Bible says 600,000 men. That doesn't include women, children, and family members. You have divine intervention assisting Moses, leading people out of bondage, out of slavery, where you have no divine assistance in having Muhammad people leave Mecca in the middle of the night. So to say that, number one, in size and scope, there's no similarity, and number two, there's no divine intervention between the two. All right, your response, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was so rudely interrupted by that gentleman. I never really got to finish my point about the Father, why there's the differences in so-called theology. I never got a chance to finish that. So, and this is what I want to point out. Listen, there's no need for people to get rude and start shutting me down and interrupting me every 10 seconds. Okay, there's no need for that. And I would like to actually finish that point about the corruption of the Torah, because I don't see that as being, if you believe that Torah is corrupt and that there are differences in there, I don't see that as being what contradicts what like Moses here is. Okay, because the point here is, this was not Moses's original theology. Jeremiah 8:8 clearly states that it has changed the Torah into a lie. Men have changed Torah into a lie. So there are mistakes.
That's not what it says.
Let me finish.
Nadir, hold on. Everybody just hold up. Nadir, hold up. Just a second.
Wait, he was responding to me. Can I just make a response quickly?
Okay, you know what?
Yeah. Okay,
that guy whoever that guy is, he keeps interrupting me.
Well, he's one of the co-hosts of the show.
Wait.
Tell him to quit being a jerk.
It's not being a
I'm
jerk,
being a
Nadir.
jerk.
Now, come on.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. So, you don't see any problem with saying that the book of Deuteronomy is corrupt.
Yes.
And then you're appealing to that book to establish the prophet of Muhammad.
Right. Absolutely.
By saying that it's corrupt, you're
Yep.
implicitly stating that it contradicts Islamic theology. If it contradicts Islamic theology, that means that it can't be from God, right? According to you.
Wrong. So basically,
so
the
if something contradicts
majority
Islamic
of
theology,
Jews, actually, look, the majority of Jews accept and believe that there are changes in the Torah.
that's false.
It
That's
is
false.
corrupt.
No.
Okay,
My
so
one of the 13
okay.
principles of faith from Maimonides says that
Yeah.
one of the what it means to be a Jew is to affirm that not one letter of the Torah has been corrupted. Not one letter, not one syllable. That's what the majority of religious Jews believe, and don't lie about what Jews believe in.
Well, now
Can I read
you're saying that
Jeremiah
Jews
8:8?
don't believe the Torah, that they believe that everything in the Bible from A to Z is absolutely
Yes,
read
they
what
do.
Jeremiah
That's what
8:8
Maimonides.
No.
So who are we going to
Okay.
believe? Are we going to believe in the Deir Ahmed, or are we going to believe Maimonides?
Okay, well, let's Google that. I'll tell you,
Okay,
I'll bring a
Google
reference for you.
Maimonides, 13
Yeah.
Principles of
Eric,
Faith.
No, let's
I'd
see the
like
way
to read
Jews
Jeremiah
believe today.
8:8, guys. Hold
Okay.
up, guys. I'm going to read Jeremiah 8:8.
Wait, but we can't let him get away
Wait, read
with.
Jeremiah 8:8. Read Jeremiah 8:8.
Hold on. We can't get him. We can't let
Jai,
him
he's
get
not
away.
getting away with anything. Everyone can see that this guy
Okay.
is just
Let me just
floating
flip back
around.
to Jeremiah 8:8,
He's
and look and
filibustering.
see exactly what
Everyone can see
Jeremiah 8:8 said.
Okay, you guys are all
Because
being
this
very
doesn't say
rude
that
at
they
this point.
changed.
Honestly,
I'm not being rude,
you guys are
Nadir.
being
Now, come
rude,
on now.
and
Nadir,
I'm
come on
not
now.
ready to leave. You're
All right.
going to treat me
Jeremiah
like
8:8
this, I'm very
says,
honest with you.
how can you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? But behold, the lying pen of the scribes has made it into a lie. It's not saying that they have changed the Bible. It's saying that that is the scribes. That's not what it says. That is not what it says. All right, Jay, you had a point that you were going to make. Go ahead.
Then can I come in?
Yeah, you can come in, Bob. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, I asked. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I asked Nadir to show me in the scripture his 3 criterion, and I've asked twice, and he still hasn't shown it. And I asked him to show me where Muhammad spoke in the name of Yahweh. I asked for some evidence on that, and he still didn't show it. And he's doing this throughout this entire conversation. And I know, Eric, that you want to move the conversation on to the 5th point, so I'm not going to drag it back to that. But I just want to make everybody aware that Nadir has avoided the questions that are being asked to him. And just like Jaya said, he is filibustering. He's just talking. He's not dealing with the points that people are making. He's not dealing with the evidence. And he's just declaring these pronouncements as if he's speaking fact, when actually anyone, and this is why Jai needs to relax, because everyone can see this, that actually when people are looking at the evidence and they're looking at the scriptures, they're going to be able to see that Nadir is just filibustering and making noise and fog and smoke and mirrors.
You know what?
Now,
I'm leaving.
Has he gone?
So yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the thing is, everyone can see that, and it's the usual kind of tropes that get used. You know, oh, you're lying, oh, you're misusing the scriptures. But we've shown very clearly from the passage that it's a prophet. It's someone who knows God face to face, which is unique to Moses, and there's only one other person that can claim to have seen God face to face, and that is the Son, Jesus Christ, who was proston theon to the Father. You know, and I think the thing is, like, that we just got to accept that some people have a script and they can't do anything other than work from their script. And Nadir has his script and he can't move from the script, so he can't engage analytically with the arguments that are being made. Eric made some good points, which are this idea that the dissimilarities are greater than the similarities. You know, Moses, his hijra, if we use that term, was based entirely entirely upon God's dramatic intervention in history. Muhammad didn't have that at his hijra. You know, the dissimilarities are greater than the similarities. Moses never actually made it into the promised land. Muhammad made it to Medina. The dissimilarity is greater than the
when you
similarity.
when you start making that comparison, I mean, and I watched his debate with Samuel Green, and he keeps it's just it's a debating tactic, and I've seen him debate for, you know, I don't know how many years. He's very active in debating, and this is just the way he debates, is that you have to agree, you have to accept this fact. And it's sophomoric. I mean, it's a good way to debate, to force your opponent into a certain position. But when you're challenged on that and you get frustrated because you are being challenged and you were told that Moses was not a warrior, then, and it destroys completely your argument, then where do you have to go? Well, you have to say, well, that's your interpretation. Robert.
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
You're speeding. Slow down, sir. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. Okay. So I just want to interject here. Do you guys find it funny that Nadir's only point, okay, regarding a prophet like his, well, the one he keeps emphasizing is he was this warrior prophet or military leader? I find that very interesting. But here's a question for Nadir. He's still here.
He's gone.
So Moses, after the people rebelled and built the calf, okay, God orders, okay, via through Moses to for all the men that were loyal to God to strap on their swords and go through the camp slaying everyone. Is that like Muhammad? I'm just kind of curious.
It's another dissimilarity, isn't it?
Yes, it most certainly is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey,
you can mute me. Go ahead.
All right, brother. Ariel's got his hand up also. I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to mute you, Robert. Go ahead, Ariel. You're up. Go ahead. You got the mic.
Yeah, just I guess really quickly. If he's going to introduce a theory, and the theory being that Muhammad is similar to Moses, or Moses is similar to Muhammad, if you introduce a theory, you can't just continue to allow for exceptions wherever they may pop up when they pose a challenge to your theory. That kind of undermines that undermines the theory. If you have unjustifiable exceptions to your rule, there's no reason for you to have confidence in your theory. So, like, for example, if you have a scientific theory and there's exceptions to your scientific theory, every time you point out an exception, like Jay did when he pointed out the fact that Moses viewed God as a heavenly father, every time you point out an inconsistency like that, that weakens Nadir's theory, and he just doesn't seem to understand that. So that's pretty much it.
It's the common objection that it's always the corruption of the text. If it doesn't fit our theology, then the text has been corrupted. The text has been corrupted. The text has been corrupted. Oh, but you're going to go to this text to prove something in your text, even though it's been corrupt. It's duplicity is what it is. And you find it, and when I'm sure, Bob, you see this at Speaker's Corner, and oh, by the way, that is like the rowdiest place on the planet. I kudos to you for doing that. But the fact of the matter is, this is this very common debating tactic to saying, okay, well, if you're going to say that the Quran denies, and this is one of my favorite topics, is the Quran denies the crucifixion. Well, when you go to the Bible and you say, well, the Bible clearly teaches that Christ was crucified on the cross, well, then that's corrupted. But in the same chapter, in the same book, the same chapter, John 17, they're going to say, well, there's Muhammad right there in that same book, in that same chapter where this corruption exists. Again, this is duplicity. You're wanting to have your cake and eat it too, all the while ignoring what I was going to talk about today, which is how we can clearly demonstrate that the Quran is false. And DL, go ahead, Bob. And I'm going to bring.
Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, the whole flaw of the argument is essentially they're using our scriptures to establish a criterion, but then in the next breath saying that our scriptures aren't reliable. Now, how can you establish a reliable criterion if the source of that criterion is not reliable? There's a falsity to that kind of logic. If the source is not reliable, any criterion drawn from that source is not reliable, and thus you have no criterion by which you can justify that Muhammad is a prophet.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
and
from our text anyway.
Exactly.
They can do it from theirs, but they can't do it from ours.
You can't have it both ways. But then again, that's exactly what.
That's what they're doing, yeah. And I think we Christians just need to be a bit more forceful in calling out that kind of double standard.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this show. I try to be as cordial and respectful with guests on here, Muslim guests, because we could sit here and talk to the walls all afternoon long and still not get an idea of what the strengths of their arguments are for the Quran, for Muhammad being a prophet. But that's not what I want. I want to hear those arguments. I think Nadir, some of the, like I was mentioning, the debating tactics that he has, the filibustering that he was using, the abject denial of what Scripture clearly states, and then if you saw this debating point, he turns and he flips it on us and says, "Well, that's your interpretation. I have the right interpretation." It just doesn't work. Now, Jay had made a great point. I want Jay to expound on this, if you can come up on mic, Jay.
Okay.
When you start talking about how Moses and Muhammad's theology differs in his respect to the Father, can you expound on that, to show and draw a line in the clear differences where it isn't just calling God his Father? I mean, just off the top of your head. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, there's one other example that I can think of that's a very, very, that Yahweh in the Bible calls an abomination. It says that basically, you can find this in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4, and then Jeremiah chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. And it speaks about a man who divorces his wife, a married couple who get divorced. It says that if that woman marries another man, she cannot come back to her original husband. That's an abomination before God. That's what Deuteronomy says in chapter 24, verses 1 through 4. And then in Islam, chapter 2, verse 230, it says just the opposite. It says that if a man and woman get divorced, the only way for them to come back together is if there is a second marriage. The wife has to marry somebody else, and then she's free to go back to her original husband. So on one hand, you have the God of the Bible, the God of Moses, saying this is an abomination. I don't know if you can. Just give me 1 second. I don't know if you can. 1 second here. I don't know if you can pull it up, but in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4. Okay, you have the text here. It's actually chapter 2, verse 230 in the Quran.
230. Okay, let me drop down to 230.
Yeah, and so this is so here we have God telling Moses, this is an abomination. It's an abomination for a married couple to divorce, and then the wife remarries someone else. She divorces that person. She cannot come back to her original husband, the first husband. That says it's an abomination, and it even corrupts the land. And then you have Muhammad, receiving this revelation that contradicts that revelation, saying that's possible. I can't see it on my screen; it's too small. But if you could read, it says,
"And if he hath divorced her the third time, then she is not lawful unto him thereafter until because he puts this qualifier into here, she hath wedded another husband. Then if he divorced her, it is no sin for both of them to come together again." So there's a qualifier there.
They have a term for this. The guy who does that, who does the second marriage, it's called al-muhallal. Al-muhallal is someone who makes it halal, like it makes it allowable. Mm-hmm. So he's making it allowable for them to get married again. Now, what he's allowing is something that God, the real God, the God of Moses, calls an abomination. So the question again comes, if you're going to use Deuteronomy to establish your point, then Deuteronomy is good enough to destroy your point as well. And if you're claiming to the prophet like Moses, you're going to contradict his theology, that's a huge problem. So you have the verse here, I see.
Yeah, it's 24, chapter 24, Deuteronomy. And it says, "Then her first husband who divorced her is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. That would be detestable in the eyes of the Lord. Do not bring sin." Okay, so it's completely contradictory to what
and actually, interestingly, if you pull up Jeremiah chapter 3, I think it's verses 1 through 3, it actually calls this the way of the the desert Arab or the dwelling Arab, or it actually uses the term Arab. So that means that this practice of getting married, divorcing, the wife marries someone else, and then she comes back to, then divorces him, then comes back to the original husband. That's actually a practice that goes all the way back to the time of Jeremiah, at least. Mm-hmm. And it's something that God detests and calls an abomination. It's something that Islam picks up and, says divine revelation.
That's in Jeremiah chapter 3 where it evidences that, you say?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you read that, Eric?
It says, if a man divorces his, Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 1, it says, if a man divorces his wife and she leaves him and marries another man, should he return to her again? ? Would not the land be completely defiled? ? But you have lived as a prostitute with many lovers. Would you now return to me? Declares the Lord. So it's an about.
Well, how does that identify? Sorry, where does that identify that that's an Arab practice?
Okay, well, this translation doesn't. It actually says a nomad in the desert. Other translations will render it as an Arab in the desert. For verse 2.
1 second. Let me just get it.
Says, look at the barren heights
Jeremiah
you see, in a
3.
place where you have
Verse
ravished.
2.
By the roadside you sat waiting for her lovers, sat like a nomad in the desert.
Yeah, that's that translation. You get the same imagery, though, that it's a practice that, people in the desert, like Arabs in the desert, would practice. Like the King James renders it as the Arabian in the desert.
Okay, I'll bring up the King James.
In the Hebrew confirms that it's using the word, Arabi, which, an Arab. Now, so the point here is that
as an Arabian in the wilderness is a King James.
So this abomination dates back to the time of Jeremiah, at least, right? It would have to, if he's referring to it, people would have to have a context, to understand what he's referring to. Yet Muhammad comes along and says that this is something that, God permits and allows it. He makes it permissible.
Okay, I mean, I don't see it in my text, but I mean, like, it's a minor point because your general thesis is utterly sound. And this is going to be my last word before I go. Like, because obviously Moses establishes a religion based at Jerusalem with a temple at the heart of it, and a priesthood and an animal sacrificial system. And it's a temple-based religion with the idea that God dwells with his people. Yeah, the tabernacle, the tabernacle, even when they were wandering through the desert, that was the whole point. It's God is with his people in a unique, loci, special way. Muhammad's theology completely contradicts that and says God cannot dwell with his people and does not dwell with his people, that he never enters into his creation. So, and they don't have a temple and they don't have animal sacrifice.
I had a debate about a year ago with a guy by the name of Radush Shuhabat. And that was that very topic there, where God cannot enter into his creation, was what we debated. And so when you start saying, okay, Moses knew God face to face, this is why Nadir was trying to get so far away from that, saying that it's not a physical sense. And on top of that, you have the very same story in the Quran that deals with God in the burning bush with Moses. So. It's duplicity. DL had his hand up. I want DL.
I've got to go, guys. Shalom.
Right, Bob, thank you for coming. Hey, you come next week too, sir. All right.
We'll talk again. God bless all. Good night. Peace be with you. Blessed orthodoxy.
DL, you've been silent.
Yes.
And you actually follow the rules by raising your hand. I respect you for that. Way to go.
I let it down after the whatchamacallit got off. Nadir.
Okay.
Yeah. Nah, basically my question was about Deuteronomy, not Deuteronomy, but Jeremiah 8:8. As a matter of fact, I think you might need to have that as a topic of discussion, one of these days. But anyway, that passage is actually contained in a section of Jeremiah known as the Temple Sermons, chapter 7 through 10, which falls in between. Jeremiah started his ministry in 627 BC. So between 627 and 622. And then something happened in the 18th year of Josiah, which was that a copy of the book of Moses was found in the temple, in which Josiah did all of his reforms. So actually, once you put that whole historical issue, into its proper context, you can blow that whole idea that the Torah is corrupted out of the water. Second of all, as you said, if the Quran is supposed to come and correct the Bible, then we have in Surah 546 Jesus confirming the Torah which came before him, and we know that Jeremiah prophesied 6 centuries before Christ. So if by the time of Jeremiah the Torah had already been corrupted based on Jeremiah 8:8, then Jesus confirmed a corrupted text, correct?
Yeah.
So it's just contradiction after contradiction.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to stop him on that Jeremiah 8:8, because that is an often made objection to the Bible, saying
90
that, I'm sorry, saying that the Bible has been corrupted. And the argument is look, there, your own text tells you that it's been corrupted, when the fact is that it's an out of context interpretation of what it is. So, it's just it's frustrating, and I could hear the frustration today with many of us, and that's the nature of the beast here with the show. And I appreciate all of you and the contributions that you made today. Come back next week, and we just might have this topic of Jeremiah 8:8. We might do that. That would be a good topic to have. But we beat this horse to death, where we talked about, have there been are there contradictions in the Bible? Are there errors or mistakes in the Bible? But if we would narrow the focus to that, I don't know. We'll be in touch. We'll be in contact with everybody, and we'll run it from there. Does anybody have anything to say? For Olga's got his hand up. Olga, go ahead.
Yeah. And I was making a point, and what's his name, Nadir, that's so superficial. To me, that's what I see with Muslim when it comes to context and theology, how superficial they are. When Bob was making a very good point about sacrificial system that Moses set up, we don't find that sacrificial system of blood atonement in Islam, and that's a very important institution that God did through Moses. And we see where Jesus came with a similar institution, and of him being the sacrifice. So, I just look at all the things that he was applying to Moses and applying to Muhammad, and see how superficial he was, just on the surface level, nothing in depth about his theology, just very, very superficial.
Everything is physical and outward appearance. So this is where we're condescended to. Why don't you pray like Jesus did when he fell on his face?
Right.
In Gethsemane. Yeah, and I get it. Okay, gentlemen, again, thank you for coming this week. We're going to be back here next week, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll have a topic. Watch my Facebook channel, the Eric Smith's Facebook channel, or you can go to the Crossing. We do have a Facebook page, Cross in the Crescent, where I'll post the show and I'll post the topic for next week. So God bless you all. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you all next week.